It's actually the people around the whole world logging onto Netflix last night to find not one, not two, but 3 episodes from the new Harry and Meghan documentary. And after years of speculation, we got to hear their side of the story, their relationship, and also what happens beyond the tabloid.
A speculative explainer, not a report of an event that has occurred. Every few months, a headline like this ripples across social media. A member of the royal family has supposedly stripped another of their title, their status, their place in the line of succession. It spreads fast, it gets clicks, and then, usually within a day or two, it quietly disappears because it never actually happened. Today we're going to do something different. Instead of reporting a fake event as if it were real, we're going to answer the question underneath the headline honestly. Could Prince William, or anyone else, actually strip Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, of her HRH status? And if so, how would that really work? To understand this properly, we need to start with what an HRH status even is, because most people, understandably, don't know the mechanics behind it. HRH stands for Her Royal Highness, or His Royal Highness. It's a style, not a title. A title is something like Duke or Duchess, Prince or Princess. A style is the form of address that goes in front of it. Meghan's full formal style, on paper, remains Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, but by mutual agreement with the late Queen Elizabeth II in 2020, Meghan and Prince Harry agreed not to use the HRH style publicly. That's an important distinction. They didn't lose it. They stopped using it, voluntarily, as part of the arrangement that came out of what the palace called the Sandringham Summit, when Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. This is where most viral stories go wrong. They conflate not using a style with being stripped of it. Those are two very different things, and the difference matters enormously if you're trying to understand who actually has power over royal titles. Here's the part that surprises people. Individual royals, even senior ones like Prince William, do not have the personal authority to strip someone of a royal title or style. This isn't a matter of etiquette or family loyalty. It's a matter of law and constitutional precedent. Titles like Duke or Duchess are created by letters patent, which are formal legal documents issued under the authority of the reigning monarch. The relevant framework for royal styles specifically comes from a 1917 letters patent issued by King George V, which defined who is entitled to the HRH style and the title of prince or princess, generally children and grandchildren of the sovereign in the male line, among other categories. To remove someone's title entirely, as opposed to simply asking them not to use it, the monarch would need to issue new letters patent. This has happened before in British history, though rarely. The most famous example is Prince Andrew, whose military affiliations and royal patronages were removed by agreement with the late Queen, and whose use of His Royal Highness was formally halted following widespread public and institutional pressure. But note the process here too. This was done through the monarch's authority, following extensive private negotiation, not through a decision made unilaterally by another prince. William, as much interest as there is in his opinions and his relationship with Harry and Meghan, does not hold this power. Not now, as Prince of Wales, and not even after he becomes king. Well, actually, once he is the reigning monarch, he would hold that constitutional authority. But right now, in 2026, he doesn't. Part of the answer is simple. This story performs well. Headlines involving royal conflict, titles, and status consistently draw enormous engagement, because they combine 3 things people are drawn to: celebrity, family drama, and the drama of institutions with rules most of us don't fully understand. Every time there's a public moment of tension, a documentary, an interview, a lawsuit, a public statement from either side, speculation resurfaces about titles being revoked. There's also a genuine undercurrent of public sentiment driving this. Polling in the UK has shown fluctuating but often unfavorable views of Harry and Meghan among British audiences, particularly following the 2020 departure from royal duties and the subsequent Oprah interview, the Netflix docuseries, and Harry's memoir Spare. Some of that sentiment expresses itself online as people wishing for, or predicting, formal consequences like title removal, even when that's not something the institution has signaled any intention of doing. It's worth being honest about this dynamic. These stories often aren't really about legal process at all. They're a stand-in for a broader public argument about whether Harry and Meghan should still be considered part of the institution, and whether their continued use of titles like Duke and Duchess of Sussex is appropriate given their distance from official royal duties. Let's separate confirmed fact from speculation, because that distinction is the whole point of this video. Confirmed: Harry and Meghan agreed in 2020 to step back as working members of the royal family. As part of that arrangement, they agreed not to use their HRH styles while carrying out non-royal commercial ventures. Their titles, Duke and Duchess of Sussex, were not removed. Harry lost his honorary military titles and royal patronages in 2021, a change that took effect after a period of transition, and which was framed as a natural consequence of no longer undertaking official duties, not as a punitive title strip. Unconfirmed and speculative. Any suggestion that Meghan has been, or is about to be, formally stripped of the Sussex title, HRH status, or removed from a line of succession document. It's also worth noting, Meghan was never in the line of succession to begin with. She married into the family. The line of succession runs through blood descent from the sovereign, governed by the Act of Settlement 1701 and modified by the Succession to the Crown Act 2013, which removed male preference primogeniture. There has never been, and likely will never be, a new succession order published by any prince, because the line of succession isn't something individual royals publish, it's a matter of public record maintained by Constitutional Convention, updated automatically as births, deaths, and marriages occur. This is the fair, speculative question, and it's worth engaging with honestly rather than dismissing outright. When William eventually becomes king, he will hold the same constitutional authority his father and grandmother held, the ability, in consultation with the government and following established precedent, to issue new letters patent. Royal commentators have speculated for years about whether a future King William might streamline the monarchy, reducing the number of working and non-working royals who carry the HRH style, similar to reforms seen in other European monarchies like Sweden, where King Carl XVI Gustav stripped several grandchildren of their HRH styles and titles in 2019 to slim down the royal family's public role. If William did pursue something similar, it's plausible Meghan and Harry's styles could be affected as part of a broader institutional decision, not a personal one aimed specifically at Meghan, but a structural change affecting multiple family members simultaneously. But this remains speculation about a hypothetical future decision, not something that has occurred, been announced, or been confirmed by any palace source. It's also worth noting that any such move would likely generate significant public and legal complexity given Harry and Meghan's American residency, their children's dual heritage, and the fact that their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, technically hold their own titles by virtue of being grandchildren of the monarch, styles that were formally confirmed as usable following King Charles's accession in 2022, under the same 1917 letters patent framework, since Charles becoming king. Automatically extended the children of the sovereign's eldest son provision to Harry's children. Stepping back from the legal mechanics, it's worth asking why the fantasy of William punishing Meghan resonates with so many people in the first place. Part of it is simple narrative satisfaction. Many viewers who followed the fallout between the brothers, the allegations made in interviews and the memoir, and the public relations battle that followed, want to see some kind of resolution or consequence. A formal title strip functions, in the public imagination, as a tidy ending to a messy story. But real institutions rarely provide tidy endings. The monarchy, in particular, tends to move slowly and cautiously on matters of formal status, precisely because these decisions set precedent and because the institution is acutely aware of how such moves are covered by international media. Removing a title from the mother of two of the king's grandchildren would be an extraordinary, precedent-setting act, not the kind of decision made quietly or unilaterally, and certainly not one that would be published the way viral headlines often imply. If you're genuinely interested in tracking whether royal status changes are ever on the table, here's what actually matters, rather than viral headlines. Official statements from Buckingham Palace or Kensington Palace, formal letters patent published in the London Gazette, the official public record for this kind of legal change. And reporting from established royal correspondents with track records of sourcing directly from palace communications teams, journalists like those at the Press Association's Royal Desk, rather than aggregator sites repeating unsourced claims. Genuine changes to royal status are rare, are typically the product of long private negotiation, and are announced through formal, unambiguous channels, not leaked as a surprise headline claiming an individual prince acted alone to punish a specific family member. To really understand how unusual and slow-moving a genuine title removal would be, it helps to look at the handful of times it has actually happened in modern British royal history, rather than relying on assumptions drawn from headlines. The clearest recent example remains Prince Andrew. His fall from public royal life didn't happen overnight, and it wasn't triggered by a single decision from a sibling or a nephew. It unfolded over years, driven by his association with Jeffrey Epstein, a widely criticized 2019 television interview, and mounting pressure from the public, the press, and eventually from within the family itself. Even then, the process was gradual. He stepped back from public duties in 2019, lost his honorary military appointments and royal patronages in early 2022, and continued to face pressure over his use of the Prince Andrew title and any residual HRH usage in subsequent years. At no point did a single family member strip him unilaterally. Every formal change came through agreement involving the monarch and, where military titles were concerned, the Ministry of Defense and other relevant institutions, since honorary military ranks are separate from royal styles and involve entirely different approval processes. Going back further, the most dramatic example of a title being deliberately altered is the abdication crisis of 1936, when Edward VIII gave up the throne to Mary Wallace-Simpson. Even in that extraordinary situation, arguably the biggest constitutional crisis the monarchy faced in the 20th century, the process still ran through formal legal channels. A specific Act of Parliament, His Majesty's Declaration of Abdication Act 1936, was required to formalize the change, and a subsequent letter's patent restricted the style of Royal Highness for Edward's wife, Wallis, specifically excluding her from sharing his HRH style as Duke of Windsor. That decision, made by his brother King George VI, is sometimes raised as a historical parallel when people speculate about Meghan, but it's worth noting it was a decision made by a reigning monarch, following an abdication, not by a sibling or heir with no formal power to act alone. This history matters because it shows a consistent pattern. Real changes to royal status take time, involve multiple institutions, and are always tied to the authority of whoever is the sitting monarch, not to personal disputes between family members, however publicly aired those disputes might be. Since stepping back from royal duties, Harry and Meghan have built an independent public life centered in California, with ventures spanning media production through their company Archwell Productions, which has released projects with Netflix and Spotify, along with Meghan's lifestyle brand, As Ever, and Harry's continued involvement with the Invictus Games, the organization he founded to support